Such a great question. This happens to be one of the workshops on personal communication and personal relationships. This is actually 6 weeks long. Why? It takes not more time to teach it, but it takes more time to absorb it. One of the things we found out is that of the 120,000 people we had in our classes and programs, about 80 to 85% resist any new idea. About 10%, 12% embrace new ideas. And the last balance create change. And so the 6 weeks long program is necessary in the sense that we coach people into communicate without judgment, without expectations. So we teach them the basic fundamentals of how to communicate, taking full ownership of one's feelings and perceptions, and not, quote-unquote, dumping, as we call it, on somebody else. So it's pretty intricate, and in the program it's really interesting because we give some very specific exercises that people then go do, and then come back in the classroom and they share the outcome of the conversation with their loved ones and the people who are close to them, or maybe not. Well, the workshop produces the instruction of fundamental communication between humans in a social context. However, the result of the workshop is really up to you, is what you want. So let's assume, for example, that you have an older relationship that doesn't work. Well, this workshop can actually coach you in terms of how to fix it, as long as the other partner is willing. Or maybe you do not have a relationship and you want to create a new one. So this basically coaches you and teaches you how to go by creating the new relationship for a long-lasting time, not just short-term relationship. No, these principles will never be forgotten by anyone who attends the workshop. The question should be an odd one, which is the one is, will I always practice this? As long as the fear and the anxiety, expectation and judgments are removed from the environment, then yes, you will always practice these principles. It's really up to you. There is the casual listener and the proactive listener. The casual listener is the one that starts looking around, you talk to them, you can never get their attention. They just basically not there for you. And that's not a very good feeling. And then there's the proactive listener, the person who really, you know they're there for you, they listen to what you're saying, they're empathic, they understand, and they're really truly interested in that. So that's what we call proactive listening, is the ability to be with the person in their speaking and the ability to recreate inside the experience that the person is sharing with you. One of the most important benefits is you get to know the people you're speaking with. And the second one is that you really are building long-lasting relationships. And third one is probably one of the most important tools is that you empower that relationship to be full. The mind will do its best to stop the individual from proactive listening, because the mind or the ego is very self-centered. So there's only one thing of interest to the mind, what the mind thinks. And what anybody else thinks and says is not really that important. So it is challenging, but there are some special practices that will teach the participant to stop the mind chatter, to focus on the other person, to really carefully listen, and not to interrupt, and not to wonder. The big issue of onion skins. We created this terminology about 15 or 20 years ago for a specific reason, and I'll explain to you as we develop this question that you just asked. But basically, onion skins, it comes from the definition that when people meet, they are not really truly communicating who they are. They typically, most people, communicate in the manner by which they think the other person wants them to be. So let me repeat that. You meet someone and you basically tell the other person or talk to the other person or communicate with the other person in the manner in which you think the other person wants to see you. So this is really what happens. People don't talk to each other. Onion skins talk to each other. Anybody who finds it difficult to truly share who they are. For example, if you have a problem going up to someone and tell them what you think or who you are, I think you should take this workshop. Because the consequence of not telling people who you are today is this. People meet and they fall in love. Then they get married and they fall a little bit out of love. And then they stay together for 30 years, and then she accuses him of changing, and he accuses her of changing, and the truth is they never change. What happened is they were never who they were at the very beginning. It really truly is, in the sense that there is a continuous fear that our participants shared with us. And they told us, well, if I tell them really what I think, they will not want to be with me. That's the problem. That's a true, authentic problem of communication. So if I don't feel good about myself, if I don't have self-esteem, and I tell someone, I'm a schmuck, I'm not really who you think I am, our fear is that they will disappear. And unfortunately, the opposite is true. When we lie about who we are, when people find out who we really are, then they leave. And so, why do we call them onion skins? We call them onion skins because when you peel them off, most participants cry. Because they really found out they're absolutely wonderful inside, they're very loving, very caring, and they deserve to have the kind of relationship that they say they want. By the way, for those of you who have been watching our conversations, either all of them or just individual ones, I want to thank you for your time, and I really invite you to visit with us. There is no reason for you to be where you are if you're not satisfied or happy or mediocrely happy with your life. Our life can be created with excellence, caring, love, affection for others, making a truly positive difference in the life of people. Thank you for attending. My commitment to all of you online is to reach millions of people in the next year to come